Welcome back. I'm Shooter Hunt here for Coffee and Curveball State to the Nation. We're heading up to the Pacific Northwest today. Going to start with the state of Washington. We have Scouting Director Dan Jurik on the call. Dan, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Shooter? Thanks for having me.
Man, Dan, we've had a lot of seven-figure signing bonuses the last few years coming out of the PNW. We got some big-time draft names. We're going to start in Washington with a few guys. At the top, Carson Oland. He's a talented switch-hitting catcher. What do you got on him?
Carson's been our number one guy in the 23 class for a while now. Two-time area code participant. You've had multiple looks at him against big-time arms. It's a pretty awesome skill set to work with. Switch hitting catcher. He can run, throws it very well out of the crouch. Power and average type of profile in offense with his ability to switch hit. Just given the diverse skill set and what he can do, it's very desirable for scouts, and that draft profile is pretty strong for him. I think if he continues to have a big senior season, he's gonna make some guys have an interesting decision on him, just because it's tough to kind of find what he can do on the diamond.
Yeah, UW commit, and I think the big thing for him, what I've seen the last few years out of him, is he hits the ball real hard. He's not serving around the diamond. He's turning that barrel with loud thunder in there at times. That power has a chance to really develop. Switch hitter, there's some premium financial chances for that, but also does a good job behind the plate at Tahoma. The PNW area scouts do a great job. I'm sure they're going to see him a ton this spring. He's got a chance to really rise into that day two consideration. Moving over to Maxon Martin, another guy that I got to see at area codes. He's an Oregon recruit from Southbridge. What do you got in him?
Speaking of power, Maxton is a guy that's going to bring some thunder to the left side of the plate. His older brother's in a minor league system. He's turned himself into a really legitimate prospect over the last few years, and I think that matters to scouts. So the kid has a lot of good things going for him right now. Runs really well for his size. He's kind of got like a linebacker type build, but it fits in the outfield. And the power's starting to show up pretty consistently in games. So kid that can run, it's power, it's left-handed. Those are things that typically will garner a lot of attention. And it's kind of one of those things where I don't know what the price tag might be. That's a big part of it right now. But if he's signable and he's ready to get into a minor league system, I don't think scouts up here are going to be shy about calling his name early.
Yeah, I think there's rawness to those tools, but when you have tools, they can be built on. And you're talking about a northern or cold weather state guy who's had limited at bats. You get him to a system, he gets more reps. Does he develop more quickly because there's that athleticism? That's the excitement on Max Martin there. Then one more guy, a left-handed arm. We're always talking about the Pacific Northwest arms race. This year's arm coming out of Washington, a kid named Bjorn Johnson, who's actually committed to go to the SEC.
Yeah, Auburn commit. Bajorn has been on the scene for a while now. For a left-handed guy, once you start getting up to 90 and 91, I think things start to get really interesting for you. And he's been at that velocity for a while now. We haven't had the chance to see him this spring yet in 2023, but we've seen multiple looks at him. He throws a sharp slider. He can really turn over a changeup. Doesn't need the changeup a whole lot at the high school level, but it is a viable pitch for him, which I think helps. If he can kind of stay in that 89 to 91 range, maybe pop a few 92s or 93s, I think it's kind of that threshold for lefties where it's tougher for them to get to campus once they start flashing that kind of velo. And he's going to have a lot of guys that go out and see him. Obviously, like you mentioned, the area scouts do a lot of work here. They cover a ton of ground, and they're well aware of what he's capable of. So we'll see where the arm strength and where the sharpness of everything is as we start to get into those warmer months.
Those warm months, get away from those wet liquid sunshine days. But I want to shift over because away from those draft guys, get some underclassmen, preseason standouts, some guys to watch. I know I'm really excited about Washington's 25 and 26 classes. There's always a lot of talent coming out of the area. Who are some guys starting at the top of 26, already committed to the University of Washington? Chris Moore.
Yeah, Chris is a name that is going to garner a lot more attention here in the next few years. He's already on varsity as a freshman right now. We had the chance to see him in the fall when he was, low 80s, 80 to 82, would pop an 83, and had a really sharp breaking ball that he could command. The velo has ticked up quite a bit. He's up to 85, 86 now, still spins a sharp breaking ball. He's got that like J.R. Ritchie type build where he's not
Ooh.
6'3", 6'4", but he's also not undersized, and he can control his actions really well. He maintains, a tight circle with all of his levers, and he's a strike thrower. So you're looking at a freshman that's already 85, 86 with a
Mm.
secondary pitch and feel for the zone. That tends to do pretty well and come off the board pretty quickly. So he's a guy that's going to be, an arm to watch in that 26 class.
Yeah, I think the secret's gotten out about how talented the Pacific Northwest is, and the schools in the area, especially those D1s, are having to act a little bit sooner than they're used to. But a 25, another commit, this one to Oregon, Cooper Markham.
Similar type of trajectory and arc that we saw with Chris Moore. Cooper was a guy that came out in the fall, was pitching at 84 to 86. Again, easy spin out of his hand, a good secondary, that wide slope shoulders, kind of like a coat hanger shaped upper half.
Mm.
Controls the zone, pitches well out of the stretch, and just understands kind of how to compete and how to get outs at a young age. Obviously, he's committed to the Ducks. The velocity was there, the secondary was there, and there's really not much more to really overthink or overanalyze at this point. It's a clean arm, it's loose. He's only going to throw harder, and the future is really bright for him right now.
Sounds like a fun guy to follow the next few years. Another fun guy that I've enjoyed watching the last couple of years, committed to Rice University down in Houston. Adam El-Rabi, nice right-handed bat, undersized as a new 6'4". He's one of those guys.
Yeah, slight correction, El Harvey, but you were
El-Harbi.
close there. Former future gamer, came out to the Pacific Northwest roster 2 summers ago. Very gritty, blue collar type of player. Like I said, best compliment I can give a defender is when the game is on the line, you're hoping they hit the ball to him. He's that kind of guy that you want patrolling your infield. Has always had a good feel at the plate for what he's doing. Contact, gap to gap type power, doesn't try to overswing or do too much, but he has gotten stronger. He's a little bit thicker now. So the raw output when he connects is rising. Not that he's ever going to be like a big exit velo power guy, but he's impacting the ball better. I think that's only going to help with his defensive versatility, and then just overall his sense of how to play the game is kind of what separates him.
Awesome. A couple Huskies left on this list in the 25 class, committed to UW. What do you got on Shane Johnson of Lake Washington and Orlando Young of Federal Way?
Yeah, both guys that you had the chance to see at the preseason All-State. Shane was with us in the summer down at Georgia with the Pacific Northwest team. Tons of pitchability, tons of moxie. It's a fast arm from the left side. And again, doesn't need to be 6'3" or 6'4" to generate velocity. He controls his delivery. He's very fluid, through his hips and through his core. Up to 86 indoors when we saw him. So as a rising sophomore, you start to get into that 85, 86 range from the left side. That changes the conversation. He can throw the changeup. He can throw a tight slider, which you've seen, and he just understands how to miss barrels. And he's the type of kid, he pitches to strike you out. And I know you want to have quick innings, you want to pitch to contact and all that, and he'll fill up the zone early. But as soon as he gets you in that two-strike situation, there's aptitude and there's the wherewithal. Like, I'm going to strike you out at this point, and I think that's a big separator for him as a lefty. And Orlando Young, a guy you've kind of spotlighted before, completely different profile from Shane. This kid is strong as heck. He's got massive, like a quadzilla type of lower half, like kind of like bursting through his baseball pants here. Incredibly thick, powerful down the slope. It stays in his core very well. And again, the velocity has always been in that like 85, 86 range, creeping up to 87, 88. I think that's what he topped at when we saw him. But again, the separator is the ability to spin a sharp breaking ball that he throws for strikes. He can drop it into the zone. He understands when to expand the zone and generate a swing and miss. There's a ton of polish to go with his physical strength right now, and he's going to rack up really gaudy high school stats as he continues to pitch. And also, he's a power hitting third baseman right now. So just two really impressive guys to keep an eye on.
Dan, you know how to bring me on board. Spin wins. I love those guys who are just can really spin the baseball. But let's shift over because we talked about those schools all around the country, understanding how much talent's up here now. Who are some of the uncommitted underclassmen that we need to circle for some spring coverage and then especially moving forward to the summer recruiting circuit? At the top, we got a kid from Tahoma, Sean Evans.
Yeah, big freshman. Again, another guy that you had the chance to see. I'll give him credit. I think he polished up a lot of his actions from the last time we saw him in the summer. Back then, he really intrigued with just his size, the arm strength, and kind of the raw power. And then you fast forward to February, The actions have tightened up. The swing is a lot sharper, and he's got a really tight circle for a kid who's 6'3", 6'4", to kind of get in that barrel into the zone. And he doesn't have to swing with a lot of effort to
No.
really do some damage. So really easy contact. Then you throw him on the mound. I think he was up to 84 already. Just a lot of good physicality and a lot of tools that have really polished up in the last few months. So definitely a guy who can do a little bit of everything right now. And it's going to be exciting to see where his ceiling really starts to shift, if it's, onto the mound or as a power hitting third baseman.
Definitely some explosiveness, that tightness in a quick window there. And then heading out over to a premier program in the state, Puyallup, with Noah Benedict.
Another guy, I had the chance to see him in fall, and he kind of jumps off the page right away. He walks into an event. He's 6'3". He's built. He's an athletic kid. Then he starts swinging it from the left side, and you start to get even a little more excited. Very loose, whippy, easy type of barrel. Just kind of let the hands work. I'd say right now he's pretty content working the middle of the field. But with his size and with his bat speed, you obviously dream on the power that he could get into one day. So I think it's just a matter of time before his offensive profile really starts to take shape. Ran a sub-7 indoors this February, which is a great number to see for a big physical young outfielder. Throws it well. And obviously, when you go down that Puyallup roster, as you see, upperclassmen, and then you see a freshman on the roster, that's just a name you circle automatically. So he's in a good spot right now. There's really a lot of things that this kid can do on the diamond at a young age. And again, left-handed bat, runner, size, just a really good profile to kind of start with.
Spot on. We got one more 26. He's from Kelso, a kid that I got to see at the preseason All-State event, who I loved the moxie. He stood at the plate, took some great swings, and then informed me that he was a better pitcher. So what do you got on Bryce Collins?
One of the better two-way prospects I think we've had the chance to see, not just in that 26 class, but any type of underclassmen. As you said, a ton of moxie, a ton of polish. Everything he does, like within the game of baseball, comes very easily to him. There's just a lot of natural actions and feel to what he's doing. Up to 83 on the mound. Didn't light up exit velocity and BP, but that's just a part of like the picture. It's not everything. What it was relaxed. It was a controlled barrel, and it was line drive after line drive after line drive with, his peak exit velo and his average very narrowly, working towards each other, which is really encouraging to see. So more of a hitter than just a BP type of guy on our look. Moves well in the outfield. Obviously, the arm strength plays there, and it's just a complete skill set. There's a lot of things that he can do really well right now.
Okay, we got a pair of 25 uncommitted guys to know out of WF West. Deacon Miller, what do you got on him?
Deacon came out into our preseason events and had a really strong showing defensively, and then kind of topped it off with a really balanced and mature offensive session. Physically, he's kind of built like a wrestler. Like, he's strong, he's stout, and he's compact. Works very well behind the plate. He's got a short arm slot getting the ball out. Great pop times, tons of velo on his throws, and he can handle receiving multiple arms. We had the chance to actually see him in game as a freshman last spring, and he kind of really is unnoticeable back there, which is what you want from a catcher. If you're not talking about the catcher, that's usually a good thing, and that's kind of how he commands the back of the plate. Offensively, it's, line drive after line drive, short compact stroke, very tight levers, just kind of understands where his A swing is and how he needs to get to it consistently. So catch and throw guys with feel for the barrel, they're always a premium, and he just looks like that next guy in line to be, a premium backstop that guys are going to want to see.
Awesome. Then wrap us up with another Tahoma kid in Adam J.
Again, not to sound like a broken record, but left-handed pitchers that can spin the breaking ball and can kind of control the zone. Like, they're tough to find, and guys, want to get out and see them. Adam was on varsity as a freshman. We had the chance to see him last spring, and he was more of a 79 to 81, top 82 kind of arm. And there was a little bit of effort behind it. Fast forward again to February, up to 85. The spin is still there. He's much stronger physically. The effort in his delivery is kind of more delayed now. So he'll get down the slope, he'll get to release, and then he'll be athletic and aggressive late. So he's staying behind the ball really well. And once you hit that, 85, 86 mark from the left side as a rising sophomore with the ability to throw multiple pitches for strikes, you're not far off from really kind of coming off the board at that point. So just another name to know. See him throughout the spring, see where he's at this summer. but definitely a left-handed arm that's trending in the right direction.
There's something in the rain that comes down that gets these arms just growing and throwing harder. Love it in the Pacific Northwest. Dan, thanks a lot. This has been State to the Nation, Washington. I'm Shooter Hunt for Prep Baseball Report.